Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we are going to make a plea. We're going to have a little chat. We're going to put forward an idea because these lads, the Ork Boys, they are on the way out. They have served faithfully for just under 22 years. They have been around for quite some time. I will say, they've aged well. They've aged pretty well. I would say that actually one of the few things that really needed changing about the Orks was their face. The faces are still actually really good. They work really nicely. It's more the overall size, the stature of the Ork Boys that I feel has become outdated, and of course it's not helped by the super splayed legs and permatwerk arse. But we've talked about that plenty of times before, and we can see the new Ork Boys right here, at least one of the new Ork Boys at least, and I mean, he looks good. To me, he looks good. The change to the head, I know a few of you not entirely sure about, but I quite like it, but I can see why you wouldn't. I think it's just one of them personal opinion, personal subjective taste things. But as I say, these lads have been around for quite some time. They were released in 1999, and that is quite the distance for a basic infantry kit to go in terms of how long it manages to last on shelves. But there is another kit, another just standard troops choice that has been around for just as long, almost exactly just as long, because these were released a mere month later. And you know what? Now we have the benefit of a new Ork Boy to compare to the old Ork Boys, and then comparing the old Ork Boys to these Eldar Guardians. Oh boy, these should be next up on the list. Alright, I think these have had their time. I think they've had their day. We talked about the head of the Ork, the new Ork Boy. There's a difference there. The older Ork Boys, their head's perfectly serviceable. You know what isn't perfectly serviceable? Those. Look at the state of the bare heads on them. Those are so dated at this point. It's actually unreal. And it hasn't been until just now, until I was looking at the dates for different stuff being released, that I realised that actually the Ork Boys have kind of got away with it. They have got away with it. I think in a way they may have been somewhat ahead of their time, because the detail on them, it still holds up pretty damn well. Things like the folds in the cloth, the little straps, the bits of leather, the bullets coming out of the shooters, that is a kit that I would argue has aged exceptionally well, especially when you put it next to these. Now, previously, I didn't think these had aged too badly, but you know what? Going back and looking at it again, these look actually like they were released in 1999. They really do. They are struggling at this stage. The head is really not doing anything for it. It's of its time. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't say it's necessarily bad, but it's not quite of the same quality and calibre that we've been seeing more recently from Games Workshop, let's put it that way. It of course doesn't help that the images taken for these are kind of grainy and really quite old pictures. Obviously the paint job is of its time as well, which isn't really helping matters, but for some reason they never seem to have updated the actual photos of this squad, which is a weird choice because I'm pretty sure that they have for these, because you've got all these close-up shots. You've got all these close-up shots of these Orks, and you simply do not have that for this lot here. Also, the Ork Boys have had their sprue rearranged. They had a little bit of a change when they had some extra stuff added to the sprue itself. In that way, they've kind of aged a bit better as well, because they had that little update that made everything just that bit more efficient. These guys, there were just 8 Guardians in here, right, when they were first released. So in 99, they had 8 models, and then if you wanted to add on the weapons platform, then that was like a separate kit, but then they got bundled together, so that was put in 2006. There wasn't actually any reorganisation or improvement going on there. All they did was just slap an extra 2 sprues into the box. And so you're left with this. And this really dates stuff. When you look at like how well a sprue is put together, that's where you know that something has been completely untouched, completely unloved, for years on end. This essentially has gone through no changes. This is what it was, and it is still that. You know what, actually, on the sprue, the head doesn't look quite as bad as painted. I feel bad saying that, because someone went away and painted that, and now it sounds like I'm dissing, but I'm not. It's just old style on old plastic, and boy does it show in some ways. Yeah, it's not ideal. The Ork Boys, they're going away. Now it's time to do the Guardians as well, because frankly, if these are old enough to retire with how well they've aged, these are definitely old enough to retire, because they ain't aged anywhere near as well. But I do have hope for that. I genuinely do. I mean, a refresh to the Ork Boys. We had Orktober a few years ago where there was a bunch of new vehicles, and, you know, there's been stuff replaced in the Ork range here and there and stuff added, but just new Ork Boys was never really part of that, even though I felt like it should have been. Now we have that confirmation, and we've got the extra stuff in the form of the beast snaggers as well. It makes me think, hey, they're prepared to put a significant amount of energy and effort into doing a proper little renovation of the Xenos ranges. Maybe actually this time round, the Eldar will get something for that, because it would be nice. Yeah, Howling Banshees and Janes are nice enough, but is it quite as good as what the Orcs are getting? No, it's not, and it would be really good to see that same treatment applied, starting right here. Question is, what do you reckon? Do you want to see new Eldar Guardians? Do you just want to see like a bunch of stuff refreshed? Like change all of the Aspect Warriors, for instance. Update those. Start with these. Maybe do some new Shining Spears. Move on to the Aspect Warriors. Actually do something with the characters that have been around since 1994 in some cases. In fact, most cases, which is kind of bad. What would you hope for? Let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like, don't click it if you don't want to. And as always, there's an affiliate link in the description for Element Games, which you can use to support the channel if you would like. I leave it in your capable hands. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.